As you know, we're bringing you a number of sit-downs with a number of the candidates in the contested races around our region, and one of them is the Calhoun County Clerk, where Incumbent Ann Norlander would like to continue to serve in that position, and she's here to talk to us this morning. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So, still got the fire in you, huh?
The fire in the belly.
Right.
Yes. In the political arena, they say once you've tasted the Kool-Aid and you like it, you continue to pursue the political dreams.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So talk about this. If you were to talk about when you first ran for this position and what your aspirations were then, and you look back on it now, have you done what you wanted to do?
I have done what I wanted to do, but I would still like to do more, and we have a lot in the pipeline that we're going to be pursuing in the next 4 years. When I got into this, it was truly by accident. I try to encourage as many people as I talk to consider running for county commission, starting or school board, starting at that level, so that they can move up and learn all of the tricks of the trade. I started out as a county commissioner, but I wasn't always in the political arena. Graduated from Michigan State University, graduated from St. Philip High School, became an elementary kindergarten teacher at Level Park Elementary, and I still have my students come in and say hello when they're getting marriage licenses or whatever. And one of them came in and picked me up and twirled me around the other day. So it's
wow.
I have great fond memories of my days of teaching. After that, I was a stay-at-home mom for 6 years and realized as my children grew a little bit older that there was very few preschool options at the time. And so I, along with a neighbor, started the Lemon Tree Preschool at the Y. And then we moved from the north side to the south side, and I was asked if I would like to run for county commission. And I said, I don't think so. It was the last thing on my mind, although my father was a district court judge for 27 years in Calhoun County, so I kind of grew up in a political atmosphere. At any rate, I first thought, well, what if I lose? And then that was frightening. And then I thought, well, what if I win? And that became also frightening. But I decided to throw my hat in the ring, and I ran unopposed, as it turned out.
So having had early exposure to the political climate, up to that point, what was your mindset? I don't need to do that, or it just was just not in your consciousness? No,
I always enjoyed traveling with my dad, going to events, going to parades, doing all the things that I knew you had to do. So I jumped in, and I was there for county commissioner for 4 years. 2 terms, and it became apparent to me that we needed some restructuring in the Clerk and Register of Deeds office. And with the odds against me about at 1% of winning, I worked very, very hard. I also tell people I talk to that the harder you work, the more often you win.
All right, and Ann Norlander knows about that. We'll talk more about this in just a minute, and we'll find out what has happened since then in the clerk's office that Ann considers accomplishments, and you heard her say she has some thoughts about what's next, and we'll hear about that, too, coming up on WBCK. We're here on Wednesday with Calhoun County Clerk Ann Norlander, who is asking for your vote on November 8th, which is approaching quickly. And so we're talking about what has been accomplished over the years that Ann has been the clerk in Calhoun County, and you talked about how there's been a transition of sorts since you were first elected. What's that been?
That has been that I inherited an office that I would say was less than organized. I like to think that one of my strengths is organization and an environment that is conducive to a good workflow. We had 4 different computer systems that we had to merge into one when I got there.
4?
And 4.
Wow.
Some of them still working and not talking to one another. So basically, I guess we could say it was a paper and pencil kind of an atmosphere. And we transformed that into a digital environment. We are, for the most part, paperless in our office now. Everything's retrievable on the internet. We have, now we do a filing of death certificates, e-filing. And that was a change of pace. And when we ran into a few snags, we got all the parties together from the state and the funeral directors throughout the county, and we worked through all the issues that we needed to make this program run.
Boy, it has changed, hasn't it? From the days of, drawing lines and poking chads and things. It's a lot different now.
It is very different. We're also e-filing all of our deeds and land records through Simplifile. And if I have the listening ear of bankers, attorneys, administrative assistants, lenders, anyone out there that has occasion to use our office, I would like them to call 781-0707, and we can get them set up with e-filing so that they never have to have a deed returned because of lack of enough money or a notary seal that isn't completed correctly. Any of that. It's almost instantaneous now that we can not have to put it back in the mail and send it back to the title office, for instance, and then that is all taken care of electronically, and Simplifile handles all the money.
Mm-hmm. Has that been challenging for you as a clerk to meld into a technologically advanced mindset? I mean, those of us who use Windows 10 sometimes have trouble with these things. This is a huge thing.
It's a huge thing, and the directives that come down from the legislature to our office are so numerous that I try to spread it out as much as I can between our 24 employees so that they're not overwhelmed with the new concealed pistol license legislation. Years ago, the personal protection order legislation. We are now working with On-Base countywide, which will render us totally countywide a paperless system when all the kinks are worked out of that. Mm-hmm. We just did a request for purchase for a new Register of Deeds software and hardware system that we can use our tech fund for. That's going to be considerably expensive, and we have the funds to do that.
And we presume this is the way of the world now. This is the way it's going.
This is the way it's going, and it's going faster than sometimes we can all absorb.
Yeah. When your opponent was here, she made a remark that it was important for the clerk to be visible in the office. The inference was she didn't think that you had been as visible. Talk about your feelings on that.
Well, we were talking about that at the staff. Our staff was, and they said that they didn't really understand that. I do not work the counter, so my visibility is not at the counter doing marriage licenses, births, deaths. My role, as I see it, is to look at the big picture. There are the detail people, and then there are those that have the gift of looking at a big picture. And I like to say that that's my strength and where we're going to take the office, because we can stay stagnant or we can move forward and do all of the innovative things that we're doing now. My opponent did say a few things. She just say also that she'd like to return to the punch card system, which flabbergasted me, but she said she was of the old school and the hanging chads. Well, I need to tell everyone that probably next year we'll be converting to yet another technologically advanced voting system with HAVA funds and with $2,000 contributed by each county to help pay for the system. So that will be another learning curve. She also said that she'd like to provide education and outreach to the voters, and certainly that's all of our goals. But she's only voted 3 times since she's been in Battle Creek for the last 8 years. And I think it's very important to let everyone know, if they want to get into the political arena, it's very, very important that they have a voting record that substantiates their goals.
Calhoun County Clerk Ann Norlander is here. She's asking for your vote on November 8th. We'll come back in a minute and talk about what she sees as well, in addition to what she's already mentioned, as the future of the clerk's office. That's in just a moment on WBCK. A few more minutes with Calhoun County Clerk Ann Norlander, who's asking for your vote on November 8th to continue as your clerk in Calhoun County. When did this start? How many years ago?
28.
28.
And on December 31st, yes.
All right. Talking about the future, we talked a little bit about technology. Are there other things you see that will need to transform the office somehow and what you accomplish?
Well, we don't know what lies ahead, but we would want the ability for everything to be online. Our court records are not up. We waited for the IT department to give us the go-ahead when My Court was developed by the state of Michigan, and thought that they would be up this year, but the My Court program crashed, costing millions and millions of dollars. So we are examining another avenue to go down to get those up, because I feel it's very important. But other than that, most everything in our office is accessible by going to our webpage. And we were the first department in county government to have a webpage, and I'd like to give that out.
Yeah, sure.
And it has all the election information that everyone wants to know, and it has links to the state so you can see your ballot. You know, precincts have changed in the city of Battle Creek primarily. They're all accessible. My opponent said something about accessibility to vote. We have to follow the ADA, Americans with Disability Act. Openings to doors have to accommodate wheelchairs.
Sure.
There only has to be a certain amount of a leverage to get in and out of the building. And we have moved primarily out of the schools into churches as a safety factor in many of the schools. So those are some changes that voters who may vote only once every 4 years will experience. I moved from Territorial School to 24th Street to the Church of God. So,
the notion being that a voting precinct in a school increases traffic in that building,
Right.
and so on. Yeah,
Right.
I see. All right. So you have in front of you a list of statistics.
I do.
Check this out now. Let's hear this.
Okay. We have 24 employees, including us. We have 10 in Battle Creek office doing circuit court work, where we provide services for circuit court judges, and we have 9 in our office in Marshall at the county seat.
Is that typical, generally, that amount of staff?
No, we're all cross-trained to do everything, so we have, and we're all in one office. There are 44 combined offices, and I think there are only 2 that have the clerk and register of deeds office in the same location. So that makes it possible for us to be cross-trained. So if you come in for your marriage license, the person after you wants a death certificate or wants to file a deed, everyone's cross-trained to do everything.
Is there budget pressure to reduce that staff? I mean, is that a constant consideration for you?
Everything's a constant consideration in the budget hearings, but I think we just provided the budget committee with a very, very good budget, and I think that it will be well received.
All right.
So let's talk what we do here.
Yeah.
This is 2015 because we're not completed this year.
Right.
New births in 2015, we processed 1,628 birth certificates, 1,409 death certificates, 972 marriage licenses because a lot of people aren't getting married anymore. DBAs 628, new CPLs 895, but this year we already have 1,185.
Okay.
Renewals of CPLs in 2015 was 1,032, and thus far this year is 583.
And that is a process, like everything else, that requires that you stay on top of new developments and changes.
And there have been new changes, and now it is the county clerk and the Michigan State Police. And we've had 1 denial so far.
Okay.
So that's been a huge change, and that takes one person 40 hours a week just to handle all of those. In our land records, we have processed 25,375 land record documents. That included 84,416 pages. New circuit court cases, 3,752. PPOs applied for personal protection orders, 638.
Wow.
390 were granted, and violations totaled 68, where the person had to go before the judge and make his case.
So before we go, Ann, as you look forward, what's the biggest challenge you see right now?
The biggest challenge I see is keeping up with the ever-changing technology and the ever-changing focus on our office to provide more services with the same amount of staff.
Right. And that applies in a lot of fronts, I suppose, and
I think
you're
it
not
applies
exempt.
to every facet of America, that we are doing more with less. And we look at all these legislative changes and technological changes as a challenge, and we provide effective efficient service. And we are proud of the staff we have. They make me look good day in and day out. I appreciate them greatly. I am here to ask for the voter support in Calhoun County and for your vote on November 8th. Voting is a right. It's not a duty. We would like to have everyone read up on the ballot. It is a very, very long ballot. It has 116 different ballot styles because the schools are all on there. And in some precincts, we have as many as 6 different ballots that will be given out, color-coded. Elections are extremely, extremely complicated. And now that we have the jurisdiction over the school elections, we spill over into 7 other counties. So that makes it a very complicated process. I also want everyone to know that our election commission oversees everything that goes on with our election, from bidding our ballots to proofing the language on the ballots to proofing the commas, semicolons, all of that, so that we do not have an interruption in our process. And I just found out that another county left an L off of Walker, and they had to reprint 8 cases of ballots.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's happened in other counties, too, and it can total upwards of $60,000 to $80,000. We also ordered a ballot by statute for every for every registered voter, and we have 99,987 registered voters. So voter registration in Calhoun County is not our issue. Our population is 137,982. So we're almost at 100,000 registered voters. Our problem is getting people educated, getting people enthusiastic, and getting people to their polls.
Right.
And with what's gone on at the top of the ticket, I think we can only wait until November 8th to see what the repercussions are going to be as it trickles down. As it trickles down the ticket to state reps, senators, down to county, township offices. And it should be a very interesting night.
I'm running out of time, but let me ask you this. Do you think there's something the clerk can do to help motivate people to be more engaged?
Well, I'm going to go to my 6th or 7th forum tomorrow night again, and I want people to be knowledgeable when they go to the polls, and that will cut down on a whole lot of frustrations. You can also get your AV ballots by calling your city or township clerks, and you can go directly to their township or city hall, fill out an application, and fill out an AV ballot right there, or you can call and they will send you an application, and you return that, and then they will send you a ballot. So we make things very easy for people, and really there should be no excuse. We live in the greatest country in the world. We should consider this an honor to be able to vote, and we should do our very utmost to become educated. I'm not sure I want people that have never looked at a newspaper or don't know who's on the ballot to vote. With rights come responsibilities.
It's a scary thought.
Yes.
Yeah. Ann Norlander became the clerk in Calhoun County 28 years ago. She'd like to continue, and she's asking for your vote. Thank you, Ann, for the time.
Welcome.